Okay guys, so today I'm talking about the boss monsters, which ones you should kill, all that sort of things. Today I'm only going to be talking about the ones that are in Don't Starve Together, so let's get into it then. So first off, we'll start with the Ancient Guardian. So 10,000 HP, you can see here, you definitely should kill this boss. He drops some great things, and he also is really easy to bug out. So what he will drop is, he drops a large ornate chest, which you can see here. You get some very, very good drops from this, so very, very good items. And then he also drops the Ancient Key, which is needed to fight the Ancient Fuel Weaver, which we'll talk about later. And he is in the heart of the labyrinth in the ruins, so you do have to go to the most dangerous area in the game to actually fight him, but he does drop a lot of really, really strong items here. You can see a lot of ancient items here. Very good stuff. You definitely want to kill him. Next up we got Antlion. You're definitely going to want to kill Antlion. So Antlion will spawn in summer, so you'll need to go to the Oasis Desert to go find him, and then you'll want to give him a warm or cold thermal stone, and then you just gotta beat him up. So that'll allow you to fight him, and he's very, very easy to kite. You'll literally just press one key on your keyboard once you see he winds up his attack, and like legit as short as you can on that tap too. And then you can just keep attacking him. Very, very easy to kite. Gives very good drops, with his blueprint here being a Lazy Deserter blueprint, which lets you teleport to someone else on the map who's also using a Lazy Deserter. It's a structure. So if you're playing with multiple players, amazing item there. And definitely something you want to kill. Next up, we got the Albatross here, which is a boss that's out at sea. I haven't even fought this boss because this boss is such a pain to go find in like actual gameplay, and it's ocean content too. So all the drops here are just absolute garbage. You should not fight this boss. I mean, it doesn't look very hard. I've seen some videos on it. It looks very, very easy as far as bosses go, but its drops are all crap, and it takes forever to go find. So why would you want to fight this boss? Next up, we got Berger. So Berger, you are going to kill him, but you don't want to fight him. So what you want to do is you just want to aggro him. So maybe this is just like a little tap from your walking cane, and you just drag him with you into a forest, and then his attacks will take out a lot of trees at once, and eventually some tree guards will spawn. You'll have him fight the tree guards. He'll eventually lose after he fights enough of them. You'll take his stuff, and you'll also get a whole bunch of living logs, a ton of normal logs, just some great stuff out of it. It only takes like a day or two, and you're getting a couple hundred logs, like 20 living logs. You're getting Berger killed. I mean, very, very useful boss here. I mean, he's more of like an immigrant worker coming to help you out, Next up, we got the Bee Queen. So the Bee Queen is a really tough boss for solo players. You can see here it has 22,500 HP, one of our raid bosses. So pretty difficult boss here. It also spawns an absurd amount of minions. Like it's stupid how many minions she spawns. But she drops a lot of really good items. So she drops the Bee Queen crown. This item I actually hate. So what this does is it reverses insanity auras. So it'll make it so that if, say, an enemy has an insanity aura of minus 200 a minute, it's actually plus 200 a minute. I hate this item because it goes in your head slot, and it's a really terrible helmet, and I mean, it's going to break really, really quickly. I wouldn't use it ever. I mean, I pick it up, I throw it at the base, and I don't ever wear it. Then you have the Royal Jelly here. You can use this to make jelly beans, which kill you like 150 each in the from the crock pot. That a very, very good item there. Definitely something you want to make. And then you also have the blueprint for bundling wraps, which are amazing. Bundling wraps completely stop items spoiling when they're in it, and they also are more compact for inventory space. Definitely a boss that you would want to kill here, but it is a pretty difficult boss. So I would recommend that you kill this boss, but if you're playing solo, just know that it is going to be pretty difficult. Next up, we got the Crab King. God, this boss is terrible. I mean, just look at this health here. I mean, 20,000 and 95,000. So that depends on the gems you put in him, but this boss has no basic attack and can actually perma-stun you if it gets a hit in. So if you don't do this boss perfectly, it's going to perma-stun you, and you're going to die with a 100% chance. So, I mean, as you all know, that's a very fun boss fight. I mean, just great boss mechanic there, very well designed. I mean, and then on top of that, it has the best loot in the game of items that I would never ever use. I wouldn't use a single item here. for any reason at all. It gives you bells, which are basically cosmetic. It gives you the recipe for this trident, which is only useful out in the ocean. And also, this is an ocean boss, by the way. Also, yeah, all ocean content's bad. So currently, we're not going to do any of that. I mean, I just love bosses that don't drop anything, and they're also probably the hardest boss in the game because they can insta-kill me just by one hit. I mean, I just love that. It's such a fun mechanic. I just love it, man. Next up, we got Deerlopse. So Deerlopse is a boss you're definitely going to want to kill, and also, he's the boss that most players... It's the first boss they die to, so he's going to spawn in winter on day 30 just every time during the night. He drops a Deerlopse eyeball and 8 big meat. He only has 4,000 HP, so he's pretty easy as far as things go. You just need to have a decent weapon and some decent armor. So if you're on just like a normal character, so say like Wilson, you just need a couple helmets and a fresh handbat, and then you put down a campfire next to yourself to get rid of his ice effect that he will add on to you. So if he hits you twice without you warming up a little bit, he will freeze you. So you just want to sit next to that campfire, and you want him to be right next to the campfire, and then you just got to hold Control plus F to attack him, and you'll kill him before he kills you. You're going to be perfectly fine. Just make sure your health's full, you have those couple helmets, and that you have that handbat. You can also kite him. You can get 3 hits in and then dodge. Not very hard to kite, although he does have a pretty high insanity aura, so eventually you're going to get attacked by like Terrorbeaks and things along those lines. I just generally tank him and try and kill him very quickly so that, because I'm always playing insane, I want there to be less time for shadow creatures to come and interrupt because it's kind of a nuisance. Next up, we got Dragonfly. So we're talking about the Don't Starve Together one, which is a raid boss. In Reign of Giants, it's actually a seasonal boss, but that's not what we're talking about today. So it has 27,500 HP, so pretty high HP there. With that, it also does pretty decent amount of damage per hit, and I'd say this is the hardest enemy in the game to kite, but it is still kiteable, so it is very possible. It does drop some good items. You can see here it drops some ruins gems. It also drops its scales. It can actually drop 2 of those if you're getting the boss stunned during it. So if you're doing a lot of damage, so if you have 2 players, or if you're playing Wolfgang with max mighty mode, you can get 2 scales. And then it also drops a recipe for the scaled furnace, which is basically you just have some permanent warmth there out of this structure, which is very nice to have for winter and spring. And then you can also use that to cook on, so very nice there, although it doesn't provide much light. Some very good drops from it, although it is a pretty difficult boss. As far as raid bosses go, probably the easiest one. Still, I mean, it's just a very basic fight. When you go and fight this boss, make sure to bring a pan flute, because otherwise she will become enraged when all her minions die. Normally you just wall her minions off from you, whether that be through a straight line wall or you just put a wall around the lava pits. But if you do not have a pan flute to stop her, she is going to go into her fire phase, where she's just going to beat the crap out of you. So you can see the damage here is absurd. 150 a swipe, and then 75 by 3 for the Ring of Fire, which, I mean, that's a lot of damage right there, and then it also lights you on fire. So, and then when you're sitting next to her when she's in the fire phase, you're also taking damage as if you're in a fire. So, not a fan. And you can also see here when she's on fire, when she's in range, she has further attack range. Her attack period is actually quicker, so she'll attack faster. Her walking speed is faster. You just don't want to fight that. It's not a fun time. Next up, we have the Reanimated Skeletons. This is actually going to be a page with 2 bosses on it. So the Cave's Reanimated Skeleton, you summon this guy, and you can actually make him into your minion after you've killed the Ancient Fuel Weaver. So he's very useful for that. As far as fighting him goes, you're literally just getting back the items you put into him, and then a couple Nightmare Fuel. And, I mean, he's pretty similar difficulty to, like, the Deerlopse. So I just wouldn't. Now, the real version of this boss, which is the Ancient Fuel Weaver. So this is the final boss. You need to kill the Shadow Pieces and the Ancient Guardian to actually be able to fight him, and he drops some absurdly good items. I mean, basically, if you kill this boss, it's considered finishing the game. So, I mean, you need to use your fossils here to be able to start it. You need to have your shadow atrium to start it, which is from the shadow pieces. And then you also need the ancient key to turn on the ancient gateway, which is from the ancient guardian. Now, you can see here, his health is only 16,000, which is less than that Dragonfly boss we were looking at earlier, or even the Bee Queen. But he heals himself. He heals himself a lot with his minions. They can heal him a couple hundred each, and he can also give himself invincibility. So no, he's not an easy boss. He also has a ranged attack. He also can snare you in place. Pretty difficult boss. For a newer player, you're definitely going to want to fight this with a buddy, because he's very, very difficult to solo. He's supposed to be unsoloable, by the way, but he's not. I mean, they just didn't design him right to have him be actually unsoloable. So yeah, very difficult boss, but he drops some absurdly good items. He drops the Shadow Thurible, which, like I said earlier, lets you control the caves version of him, and it also will let you have the forest version of him follow you, which is just, I mean, you can use this to like chop down trees and stuff, so useful there. The Bone Helm, this will make you insane, but it will also make it so that shadow creatures are not aggressive to you. And I mean, this is like really insane. You're going to have like a whole bunch of shadow creatures coming around you, but it's not like they're going to help you. They're just neutral to you. And then you have the Bone Armor. This grants you 100% invulnerability every 5 seconds for one hit at the cost of Nightmare Fuel to recharge it. Extremely good item. You can also just gather a couple of these if you fight the Fuel Weaver a couple of times, and you can swap between them to have invincibility for even more hits. This is specifically good against raid bosses and makes the raid bosses incredibly easy because their attack cycles are fairly slow. Most bosses are actually fairly easy with this. I mean, they can barely even hit you then. Next up, we got the Shadow Pieces. So the Shadow Pieces is actually 3 bosses rolled into one. So here you can see that when you kill one of them, it's actually going to upgrade the other 2 to the next level up. And then once you kill one of those 2, it's going to level the last one to level 3 version. So you see, yeah, this guy's pretty spooky. And a little bit spooky there. But what you want to do here is you want to take out the knight first, because you won't be able to catch him in level 2. He's a pain to actually catch up to and do damage to. Then you want to kill the bishop second, and then you want to leave the rook for last. And basically the point of killing these guys is so that you can kill the Ancient Fuel Weaver. It is an incredibly time-consuming fight because you can only fight them on a new moon. You can actually get the recipe for them on a full moon, I should say, but you need to fight them on a new moon. And also, the issue with fighting these guys is that, I mean, they're a total pain. So you got to go through all 3 of them. It's a pretty hard boss fight. They're almost unkiteable. You need a really good speed boost to really fight these guys. They do a lot of damage. They are generally not fun to fight. They're extremely difficult fight, and also that the time restrictions there. And then on top of that, you also have to transport these marble pieces heads on top of their statues to be able to start the fight, which is incredibly time consuming for a normal player. I mean, after you find them all, it's probably going to take you 3 or 4 days just on its own just to be able to transport those heads. It's a huge pain. So generally, I would say you should fight them so that you can fight the Ancient Fuel Weaver, but they are a huge pain, and just keep that in mind. They're a huge pain to go fight. Next up, we got the Spider Queen. Now, the Spider Queen drops a spider egg and her spider hat, and she only has 2,500 HP, so she can also spawn spider minions that'll follow her around and protect her. Generally, I will not fight Spider Queen, so even though one of her spider hats can be pretty useful for starting a spider war where you have one spider attack another spider that's not allied with you, that causes spiders to go rush to their aid, and then that spider gets hit back that was allied to you, which causes more spiders to go to their aid and starts like a huge spider war, and they'll kill each other, like a whole bunch of them. Even if you have like 30 nests worth, all the spiders will just go in and they'll suicide. They'll all die killing each other. So you can get a lot of items out of that, but you really only need one ever because it only takes a couple seconds to do that. And the Spider Queen is a huge nuisance to kill just because of the spiders that come off of her. So she takes a while. It's just kind of a pain, and they're super common. They're all over the place. So I would just kind of recommend you avoid them until they despawn and turn back into a level 1 spider den, and then you can rid them if you want to get rid of them. Next up, we got Claws. So Claws is, he's a boss he's kind of weird. So he drops other bosses' items once you kill him. So he can drop some pretty good items. He can also drop a Krampus sack some of the time. Generally, his drops are going to be bad, though. So, I mean, you have a chance that his drops are going to be absurdly good, and then you also have a pretty high chance that his drops aren't going to be all that good. I would recommend you kill him because as far as raid bosses go, he's one of the easiest. He's extremely, extremely easy to kill. I mean, I generally wouldn't even worry about bringing armor to this guy myself, although I would recommend it for you just because, I mean, especially if you're going for a first time. He's very, very easy, extremely easy to kite. You can get a lot of hits in between on certain ones of his attacks. You can actually hit like 9 times in between. Crazy easy boss, and you can drop some really good items. Throughout the fight, you'll get a 12% chance for a Krampus sack, which is a way better backpack, and it's a super good item, so I would recommend that you fight him, although he is a raid boss, I will say again. But you can see here, he only has 10,000 HP, and then he'll come back to life with a life-giving amulet and have 5,000 more HP. So really, he only has 15,000 HP in total. So to start this boss fight, I gotta make sure to say that here is you run these no-eyed deer into some trees, you take their antler, and then you use their antler into just the sack that's sitting around. So you'll see this, it's like called a loot stash. You'll find it in like a deciduous forest or in a mosaic biome. It's a pain to go find, and it'll only spawn in winter, but once you do that, if you find it, go for it. Next up, we got Toadstool. So this is definitely a boss I would tell you not to fight. So you can see here, his health is actually 52,500. His health is absurdly high. He doesn't drop any good items, not a single good item out of anything here. He also has a misery form, which is way worse. Everything here is just garbage, and he drops like 1 more blueprint there for something useless. Really trash boss fight. I'm not sure why this boss is in the game. You also can't use a handbat against him because it will spoil. You can't carry any food while fighting him because it will spoil. Just don't. Just completely avoid this boss. I'm not sure why he's in the game. I mean, when they added him, they obviously weren't thinking very much because they added him with like 160,000 HP or something, and then he would disappear after 5 minutes. Literally, this was what they did when they added him to the game. I think you can see it if you scroll down further. Yeah, 156,500 health and the ability to flee after 5 minutes. They obviously weren't thinking when they added this boss. He's really bad. I don't know why he still exists. If they wanted him to be useful, they should lower his health like a ton, and then they should also add some drops to him that aren't just complete and utter trash garbage here. His fun caps are... They lowered the speed at which your hunger drains, which sounds good, except it also spoils food in your inventory, including things like a handbat. So it kind of defeats its own purpose. It also has mush lights, which are basically the same as end tables, so I don't get the point. Yeah, I mean, just complete waste of time. Tree Guard. So this is a boss that many players will encounter as their first boss. So Tree Guards, I don't even know why they're considered a boss. They're incredibly easy. They're not too rare. There's really not much to it. They just have a large health pool, so you can hit them a lot of times. Their attacks are really slow. They're really slow. You can pacify them if you don't want to fight them at a certain time just by planting pine cones around them. But generally, you want to kill them, though, because they drop the living logs you can see down here. Living logs are amazing. You can use these to make dark swords, which are the best weapon in the game. You can also use them to make some other like magic items that are crazy good. So I love to see a tree guard pop out. I always kill tree guard I see. And I would definitely recommend that you kill these when you see these. Definitely go there. And that covers all of our bosses. So if you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Bye-bye.